What's going on, my beautiful peoples? And today, surprise, surprise, we're going to talk about Starfield. Starfield. The game that I was not excited for, a few years ago. I was interested in it, but I wasn't full-on hype training the thing, which I very much am now, after that direct that we got, which I still think, that might be one of my... It's hard to think about when you really sit down and think about which ones are your favorite, but that was one of, if not my favorite gaming presentation I've ever seen. It was done extraordinarily well, and whoever cut it together deserves a raise, because after we got the show last year, and a lot of people were coming away from that saying, game looks empty, there's performance issues, it doesn't look as good as we had hoped. This presentation looked like a completely different game. It looked so good. There were still some performance issues and stuff like that, but it looked really good. And today I wanted to talk about one of my biggest worries when it comes to the game, and we will, leading up to launch, talk a lot more about Starfield. We're going to do some deep dives on a lot of stuff that we saw, a lot of the things that Todd said in some interviews. But today I want to focus on what I think could be the biggest issue that I saw from that direct, and that is going to be transportation. Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, what do you mean transportation? We got a spaceship. And yes we do. There's over 1,000 planets. That is something that's driving me crazy. I keep seeing people use 1,000 planets. They say, it's got 1,000 planets, it's got 1,000 planets. And I have OCD. Todd Howard has said many times, it's over 1,000 planets. I don't care if it's 1,002. It's over 1,000. So please, for the love of God, stop saying 1,000 planets. It's over 1,000 planets. So yeah, we got a spaceship. But in that direct, we saw at least one time, it might have been more than one time. I'm going to be rewatching it several times over the summer, I imagine. But it very clearly looks like when you get into a ship and you start, you decide you want to go somewhere, there's a cutscene, and then boom, you're in space. I don't have issues with that. I'm a Star Citizen player, so I'm used to, the seamless from the ground to space, but that doesn't bug me. It really doesn't bug me that space and ground are like two different areas. But what worries me, and I guess you could say bugs me, is that we didn't see any ship land transportation. Bethesda has never had traditional vehicles in their games before. In Skyrim, you have a horse. That's about the closest it can get. And of course, you can mod certain games. Like, I know there's mods in Fallout where you can get one of the choppers to take you to and from places. But they've never had vehicles before, so the fact that there even is a vehicle in their game is a really big deal, and I don't want to discredit that. It's awesome, and I'm very excited to see how it works out for them, because they've never really done anything like that before. But, like I said, I'm a Star Citizen player, and without getting hands-on experience with the game, we don't know exactly what the size and scope of these planets are going to be. But if they're anything like Star Citizen, they're going to be massive. Like in Star Citizen, even with your ship and your hyperdrive and all that stuff, to get from one end of a planet to another takes several minutes, which, doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're playing a video game, that is a lot. We're the type of people that will complain when a loading screen's long, like 30 seconds long. So that's a while. And I can't even imagine how long it would take to get from one side of a planet to another on foot. I can tell you one thing, I'm never going to fucking do that in Star Citizen. That is a huge waste of time. That's probably hours of my life I will not get back. But that's what I'm worried about when it comes to Starfield, because a big part of Bethesda games, especially for me, is the exploration, and I'm sure a lot of you, that's a big part of it too. Stumbling on random things and, getting distracted for, hours when you're trying to get to your objective because you saw something that was interesting, or you just, decided, what, I'm going to land on this planet, I'm just going to walk around and see what I can find. But if we can't use our ships to, you know, kind of coast along the planet's surface, that's a big issue for me, because they didn't show off any sort of, you know, speed bikes or anything like that. And of course we got the, you know, the jetpack and stuff, but I assume if it's anything like the jetpacks they've had in their other games, it's going to be, you know, and like most jetpacks in most games, it's not something that I can just have on indefinitely. Like, it's going to need to recharge. It'll be more like a sprint boost type thing, is what I would assume. And everything we've seen from the footage doesn't necessarily say that that isn't going to be the case. So that is my biggest takeaway / worry from that direct, is these planets are going to be absolutely massive, and there's going to be over 1,000 of them. And while the idea of exploring one planet fully for like a week sounds really cool, with the procedural generation that we're going to have with a lot of this stuff, you know, I have hopes, but I'm also not naive in the fact that I'm sure a lot of these planets are going to have 1 to 2, you know, best case scenario 4 or 5 like really cool things to find, and other than that they're going to be mostly barren with, you know, some creatures that you can farm materials from, and then resources that you can gather from the planet's surface. And if there's not some sort of speed bike situation, or we can't use our ship to like fly to different locations on a planet, I mean, maybe in their mind it will work, because you can go up to space and then you can select a different coordinate spot on the planet to go down to. But that's going in and out of loading screens, and that's not going to be fun. Nobody's going to want to, if that's how it's going to work, and dear God, I hope that's not how it's going to work. Nobody's going to want to go to a planet and say, oh, that thing like 500,000 meters away looks really cool, I want to go there. Let me hop up into space real quick, set a destination to there, and then come back down. Like that's not fun. That's immersion breaking. And it's not because of the loading, I mean it is because of the loading screens, but it's just, I don't want to stop my exploration to then come back to it because there's no reliable way to get to there. And that's what I am worried about. That is a big worry of mine. That is what I think could be the possible biggest issue when it comes to Starfield, is we don't know what it's like to transport to and from A to B on the planet's surface. Now, maybe I'm overreacting, but we didn't really see a lot of, we saw a lot of ship-related stuff, but when it comes to the transportation of the ship, all we saw was like dogfights and hyperspace, or hyperdrive, whatever they're calling it, and that cutscene that we saw, which was very clearly the ship taking off, getting into space, and they cut from, I think it showed him walking up to the ship, and then it cut to the cutscene where it looks like you're taking off into space. And to me, that means that, yeah, I can probably get into my ship and interact with the stuff inside of it, but then I have to make a selection saying, okay, let's go into flight mode, and that immediately takes me up into space. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to say, hey, I want to go into flight mode, but I want to stay on the surface and just, zoom on to the other end of the planet and see what's over there. So I'm worried about that, and I think we should all be worried about that. Granted, if this does end up being the case, it's not going to make or break the game. The game looks fantastic. If it runs well, even the bad Bethesda games are good games. I'm looking at you, 76. But that is my thought process on that. Let me know what your guys' thought processes are down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe it. You definitely want to subscribe, because we are going to be doing lots and lots of deep dives on Starfield up until launch, and then after launch as well. I am very excited for this game. Let me know how you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, that's all I got for you. I'll catch you in the next one.